The Noble Deer King. In the lush forests near the ancient city of Benares, there lived two magnificent deer kings, each more beautiful than any creature in the land. The first was Negroda, whose golden fur shone like sunlight, whose antlers gleamed like silver, and whose eyes sparkled like precious jewels. He led a herd of 500 deer with wisdom and kindness. The second was Saka, equally splendid in appearance, who also led 500 deer, though he ruled with pride rather than compassion. In those days, the king of Benares loved hunting more than anything. Every single day, he forced all the townsfolk and farmers to join his royal hunt, pulling them away from their shops, their fields, and their families. The people grew tired and angry. "Our crops are dying. Our businesses are failing," they cried. So they came up with a clever plan. They planted fresh grass and dug a pond inside the king's royal park, then drove both herds of deer inside and locked the gates. "Now the king can hunt whenever he likes without troubling us." The king was delighted when he saw the two golden deer kings among the herd. He was so struck by their beauty that he declared, "These two magnificent creatures shall never be harmed. No one may touch them." But every day, the king or his cook would enter the park to hunt. The terrified deer would stampede in panic, crashing into each other, breaking their legs and antlers. Many were badly hurt even before a single deer was chosen for the royal kitchen. The suffering was terrible. Negroda could not bear to watch his fellow deer suffer so needlessly. He went to Saka with a wise proposal. "Let us end this chaos," he said. "Instead of this terrible hunt each day, let us draw lots. One deer will go willingly to the chopping block each day, taking turns from your herd and mine. This way, only one deer must face its fate, and the rest will live in peace." Saka agreed, and from that day on, the lottery brought order and an end to the stampedes. The system worked peacefully until one fateful day when the lot fell upon a gentle doe from Saka's herd. But this doe was carrying an unborn fawn, close to giving birth. She went to Saka and begged, "My lord, I am with young. When my baby is born, there will be two of us to take turns. Please, let me wait until after I give birth." But Saka was cold and unmoved. "The lot has fallen on you," he said harshly. "I will not change it for anyone. Go and meet your fate." Heartbroken but not defeated, the desperate doe went to Negroda and told him everything, how the lot had fallen on her, how she was carrying her unborn baby, and how Saka had refused to show her any mercy. Negroda listened with kind and gentle eyes. His heart was filled with deep compassion. "Do not worry," he said softly. "Go back to your herd and take care of your little one. I will make sure that no harm comes to you or your baby." But Negroda did not ask another deer to take the doe's place. Instead, he did something extraordinary. The great golden deer king walked calmly and with quiet dignity to the chopping block. He lay down and placed his own royal neck upon the cold stone, ready to give his life. When the cook arrived and saw the magnificent golden deer, the very one the king had declared untouchable, lying on the block, he dropped his knife in shock. "This is the deer king himself," he cried, and ran to tell the king of Benares. The king of Benares rushed to the park and found the magnificent golden deer lying peacefully on the chopping block. "Why?" the king asked in amazement. "I granted you safety. Why are you here?" Negroda lifted his head and spoke with gentle dignity. "A mother deer, heavy with child, was chosen to die today. She begged for mercy, but her own king refused. I could not pass her doom on to another innocent deer. So I have come myself, to take her place." The king's eyes filled with tears. Deeply moved, the king said, "Rise, noble one. I spare your life and the doe's life." But Negroda did not stop there. "Though two are spared," he asked gently, "what about the rest of my herd?" The king replied, "I spare them too." "And what about Saka's herd?" "Them too." "And all other deer in the kingdom?" "All spared." "And the birds?" "All birds are safe." "And the fish in the rivers?" The king's heart opened wider with each question, until at last he declared, "From this day forward, all living creatures in my kingdom shall be protected." The gates of the park were thrown open, and the deer walked free. The pregnant doe gave birth to a healthy fawn, and she taught her little one to always follow Negroda, the compassionate king who had given his life for a stranger. From that day forward, the The kingdom of Benares became a place where no creature was harmed. And the story of the noble deer king who lay down his life on the chopping block to save a mother and her child was told throughout the land, reminding everyone that true greatness lies not in power, but in the willingness to sacrifice for others. Moral: true compassion knows no boundaries. One act of selfless love can awaken kindness in all hearts. The prince who gave away everything. In the beautiful kingdom of Sivi, there was great joy when Prince Vesantara was born to King Sanjaya and Queen Fusati. From his very first day, the little prince was extraordinary. Even as a baby, he would take off his tiny golden necklaces and place them in the hands of his nurses, smiling with pure delight. As he grew, his kindness only grew with him, and everyone in the kingdom loved him dearly. When Vesantara grew into a young man, a terrible drought struck the neighboring kingdom. Their rivers dried up and their crops withered. Learning that Sivi possessed a sacred white elephant believed to bring rain, the neighbors came to ask for help. Without hesitation, Vesantara gave away the beloved elephant, pouring water over their hands as a sign of the gift. But the people of Sivi were furious and demanded the king exile his generous son. Before departing into exile, Vesantara performed the greatest act of giving anyone had ever seen. He gave away 700 elephants, 700 horses, chariots, and mountains of gold and jewels to the poor. His faithful wife Maddie came to him with their 2 little children, Jali and Kanhajina. "Wherever you go, we go with you," she said bravely. And so the family left the palace together, walking hand in hand toward the unknown forest. The family journeyed deep into the forest. Along the way, beggars approached their carriage, and Vesantara gave that away too. He lifted little Kanhajina onto his hip and took Jali by the hand, and the family walked on through the towering trees on foot. Maddie carried their few remaining belongings. After many days, they reached a peaceful hermitage on a beautiful green mountain, where a gentle stream sang its way through the valley below. Life in the forest hermitage was simple but full of love. Every morning, Maddie gathered sweet fruits, roots, and berries while Vesantara sat in peaceful meditation beneath the great trees. Little Jali and Kanhajina played happily with the forest animals, gentle deer ate from their hands, colorful birds perched on their shoulders, and rabbits hopped around their feet. It was a life of perfect harmony, where every creature was a friend. One day, a hunched old Brahmin named Jataka appeared at the hermitage. His greedy young wife had sent him to find servants for their home. With a demanding voice, he asked Vesantara for his children. Vesantara's heart shattered like glass, but he believed that true generosity means giving what is most precious. With trembling hands and tears rolling down his cheeks, he called Jali and Kanhajina to him, embraced them tightly one last time, and gently led them to the old man. When Maddie returned from gathering food, she found the hermitage terribly silent. The children's laughter was gone. Their little footprints in the earth led away into the forest. She dropped her basket of fruits and ran, calling their names through the moonlit trees. "Jali! Kanhajina!" she cried, her voice echoing through the dark forest. She searched all night, her heart aching with a mother's deepest love, until she finally collapsed at the hermitage door, weeping. Moved by Vesantara's supreme sacrifice, Saka, the king of the gods himself, descended from the heavens in a blaze of golden light. Disguised as a Brahmin, he asked Vesantara for his final and most precious gift, Maddie herself. Without wavering, Vesantara agreed. At that moment, the very earth shook and trembled, the oceans roared, and flowers rained from the sky. Saka revealed his true divine form and, amazed by such boundless generosity, granted Vesantara 8 magnificent wishes. Meanwhile, old Jujaka had wandered with the children and, by a twist of fate, stumbled right into the kingdom of Sivi. When King Sanjaya and Queen Fusati saw their beloved grandchildren, they could hardly believe their eyes. The king immediately offered mountains of gold, silver, elephants, and jewels to buy back the children. Jujaka happily accepted the treasure. The overjoyed grandparents gathered little Jali and Kanhajina into their arms, showering them with kisses and tears of happiness. King Sanjaya sent his finest carriages to bring Vesantara and Maddie home. When the family was reunited at the palace gates, the joy was greater than anything the kingdom had ever known. Jali and Kanhajina ran into their parents' arms, and the whole city erupted in celebration. Vesantara was crowned king, and he ruled with the same boundless generosity and wisdom that had been in his heart since the day he was born. And the kingdom of Sivi prospered in peace and love for many, many years. Moral: true generosity means giving with an open heart, even when it costs you what you love most. The Generous Elephant King. Long ago, in the misty mountains of the Himalayas, there lived a magnificent white elephant king. His skin gleamed like silver, his eyes sparkled like diamonds, and he was the wisest and kindest creature in all the forest. He led a great herd of elephants through the lush green valleys, loved and respected by every animal who knew him. But over time, some elephants in the herd began to quarrel and act unkindly toward the smaller forest creatures. The gentle Elephant King was deeply troubled by their cruelty. "I cannot stay where there is so much unkindness," he said sadly. And so, with a heavy heart, he left the herd and went to live alone in a quiet corner of the great forest, far from everyone. One day, a forester from the distant city of Benares came to the Himalayas to gather wood. But the deep forest was vast and confusing, and the poor man lost his way. 4 days he wandered, growing hungrier and more frightened with every step. "I shall surely die here," he cried out in despair, tears streaming down his tired face. The kind Elephant King heard the man's desperate cries and came to help. But the forester was terrified at the sight of such an enormous beast and turned to run. The elephant stood perfectly still. When the man stopped to catch his breath, the elephant took one gentle step forward. Again the man ran, and again the elephant stopped. Slowly, the forester understood. "This elephant does not wish to harm me," he whispered in wonder. "He wants to help." The Elephant King led the grateful forester to his home beneath a great banyan tree. He brought the man ripe bananas, sweet mangoes, and cool water from a nearby stream. For several days, the elephant cared for him, feeding him and keeping him safe from wild animals. The forester's strength returned, and his heart overflowed with gratitude for the gentle giant who had saved his life. When the forester was well again, the Elephant King gently lifted him onto his back and carried him all the way to the road that led to Benares. As they parted, the elephant looked at the man with his kind, sparkling eyes. The forester understood the silent message: "Please, tell no one where I live." He bowed deeply, placed his hand on his heart, and promised to keep the elephant's secret. Then he set off down the road toward home. Back in Benares, the forester walked through the busy bazaar. He passed the stalls of ivory workers, where craftsmen carved beautiful objects from elephant tusks. "How much is ivory worth?" he asked curiously. "A fortune," replied the merchant. "Especially tusks from a living elephant, they are worth more than gold." A dark, greedy thought crept into the forester's mind, and he forgot all about his promise and the kindness he had received. The ungrateful forester returned to the forest with a saw. "Dear elephant," he said with a false smile, "I am very poor. Could you spare your tusks so I may sell them?" The kind Elephant King looked at the man he had saved. Though his heart ached with sadness, he knelt down low upon the ground. He valued compassion more than his own magnificent tusks. The forester sawed off both beautiful tusks and hurried away without even a word of thanks. But the money from the tusks soon ran out, and the greedy forester returned once more. This time, he did not even pretend to be kind. "I need what remains of your tusks," he demanded coldly. The noble elephant, despite his terrible pain, bowed his great head and allowed the man to take the very last pieces. A tree fairy who had watched everything from the branches above trembled with anger at such shameless ingratitude. As the forester walked away clutching his stolen prize, the ground beneath his feet began to tremble and crack. The earth itself could not bear such cruelty and greed. With a mighty rumble, the ground opened wide and swallowed the ungrateful man whole. From the branches above, the tree fairy spoke words that echoed through the forest. "All the riches in the world cannot satisfy an ungrateful heart. Always repay kindness with kindness." And the wise Elephant King's lesson of generosity and gratitude has been told ever since. Moral: all the riches in the world cannot satisfy an ungrateful heart. Always repay kindness with kindness.